With all that being said, the reason we're here, the thing that probably opened up all the discuss, or the thing that captured everybody the most today, the thing that is the biggest maybe change from how we thought the situation was going to go, is James Harden's situation. It's kind of been a roller coaster. I think a lot of us thought destined for Houston based on some of the reporting we saw during the season around Christmas time, and as that built. As the season went on, James Harden was really interested in returning to Houston, and Houston would have been happy to have him back. And I think that's where a lot of us thought it could be going. And then when Doc was out, it seemed like maybe things flipped for Harden. It was like, oh, if Doc's not there anymore, maybe there is more of a situation that I'll be willing to come back in. And I think the last step of this roller coaster, I guess we've gotten to now, is James Harden has tested his options. I think James Harden's representation have tested their options, both in both with picking up the option and with. Or no, let me rephrase that. James Harden and his representation worked out all or picked. Here we go. Three, two, one. So James Harden and his representation looked at all of the options they had by opting out. Pretty much, they wanted long-term money. They wanted to sign a contract, and I think as time went on, maybe James realizing he did want to play for a team that could contend. And I don't think they like what they saw. I don't think they saw the years or the money they wanted out there on the market. So I think that's why you opt in. They're opting in and hoping for a trade. I think this is kind of a win-win for Philly and for Harden, unless Harden was just going to be willing to come back, because Philly doesn't lose him for nothing in this situation. They're going to get some type of value back for him, and I think Harden gets to land in a spot where he has a chance to win instead of just like going to Houston and just taking them back, essentially. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here. It'll be interesting to see where the interest is, but I think this is probably going to be the biggest domino of this free agency, unless we hear about some other names, unless Damian Lillard throws his name into the fray. Speaking of, let's talk about some teams that have interest. The Clippers are maybe the most interesting one to me, because I think it lines up with where the Clippers mentality is at. So the most important thing I want you guys to notice here for the Clippers situation, Harden is not extension eligible and will be an unrestricted free agent next summer. That's not Clipper specific. If Harden opts into this deal, he is not extension eligible. He cannot sign an extension with any team he lands on. I don't think he can even sign an extension with the Sixers if he opts into this deal. So he will be an unrestricted free agent next summer, no matter what. No matter how the situation plays out, James Harden, unrestricted free agent this summer. And I think that's kind of I think that might be appealing to the Clippers. I think there's a good chance that might be appealing to the Clippers because it seems like they might kind of be done with investing in the Kawhi Paul George experience. I don't think they necessarily want those guys gone. I don't think they want to pony up long-term money for extensions for these guys. And Harden is a good way out for that, right? Got a guy who's still going to make your team competitive, just straight up going to be on the court, or has, knock on wood, tends to be on the court more than the other two guys on your team, night in, night out. And if you're ready to move on, as you get ready for your new spot in Inglewood, you have the flexibility to be like, we can bring Harden back to as the person who gets us, who opens up the new arena, or we can part ways with Harden and start building up our new situation to get us prepared for that Inglewood move. So I think it's the flexibility the Clippers might actually like compared to where they're at with their stars, and maybe see this as a good way out of the Paul George or Kawhi. The Paul George Kawhi Leonard situation, if they want it out there. So I want to see where that goes. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people within Clippers fandom, Twitter, media that aren't going to like the move for them. But I think they're at a point where I think we're at a point with this Clippers team that the front office is looking at the situation and like, we maybe have to stop. We maybe can't keep re-upping with this group over and over and over again. And I think we're kind of at that point here. And I think Harden may represent a way out for the Clippers in this situation. So I'm interested to see where that comes from, whether it is Kawhi. I got to imagine it's Paul George and not Kawhi if that trade goes down, just because Paul George. I just can't imagine Philly wanting Kawhi, especially to pair next to N.B.H. I could see Paul George making a lot more sense in that spot. Would also be interested if Tobias Harris works his way into this deal somehow. That's obviously somebody the Clippers have some affection for. So yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens there. The Clippers are really interesting to me, though. A team that doesn't make as much sense to me is the Knicks. I don't necessarily get the Knicks side of this, uh, I mean, I guess it's a big name. They have flexibility. Like I've said, they have a lot of flexibility right now to make moves. I think both with Barrett and Randall, they have guys they like, but guys they are not necessarily committed to long term if they can turn it into something else. I don't know if James Harden's the piece you want to get rid of those guys for. It's a move. I don't like it if I'm the Knicks personally, but who knows? They might take a shot at it. We will see. The more interesting one to me, I think the Clippers are maybe the most interesting. The Suns possibility is weird because I don't. Again, similar to the Kyrie situation, it's just a lot of people and one ball, a lot of guards and forwards and one. We're really just a lot of guards and one forward that plays like a guard. He's really great at it. No knock on KD. And nothing else really. I'm assuming this will be an Aiden center deal, like which again, and Aiden will have to be shipped somewhere else because Philly doesn't want Aiden. It would be really complicated. It's hard to see the Suns thing really coming together just because of that. You can't really trade Bill. You're not trading Booker. You're not trading. I mean, you literally can't trade Bill. You're not trading Booker. You're not trading Durant. So it has to be a DeAndre Aiden move, and that's a weird roster construction, man. It's a really weird roster construction. I'm not saying it couldn't work. It's a fuck ton of talent that could really blow the doors off a lot of the league, but that's a weird situation. It'd be hard to pull off because again, I don't think Philly wants Aiden, so it gets really complicated to try to figure out how to make it work. But I think the Suns are looking into any opportunity to add. The Suns are in a lot of people call new owner mode, right? But it doesn't seem to be a lot of regulation on whether we should or could or what the law. It's like, no, we can get this player, get him. I have my new toy. I want to maximize it the best that we can, which usually doesn't last long. With the look at the history of the NBA, even with the Nets team we saw before, the Nets team from a while ago, usually doesn't last long. Not the KD, Harden, Kyrie Nets, the Joe Johnson, who else was on? Joe Johnson, Kevin Garnett, Darren Williams, Paul Pierce, Brooklyn Nets, but story for another day. So again, we'll see how the Suns things last long term. I doubt Kyrie or Harden is actually on this team going into next season, but they are both technically possibilities that have been thrown out there, so I wanted to mention them. But the Miami Heat, that is the interesting one because I do think I'd be interested to see if Miami would rather have Harden or Dame. I think you gotta imagine that Dame would be their first choice just because of culture fit, I guess probably the best way to say it. I gotta imagine that Dame is a better culture fit with what the Heat do, and just has, like, if you look at the thing the Heat needed this last playoffs was just more offense. As much as James Harden is great at bringing offense to your team, they needed offense in clutch moments, in big moments, in playoff moments, and Harden has proven he's not great at that. Dame has proven better at that. Dame has had those. As much as L's as Dame has taken in the playoffs, he also has some crazy playoff moments with the offense. So I think if I'm Miami, I'd rather have Dame, but also I don't know. Dame seems like he doesn't want out. As much as we all want him out, it seems like Dame, again, truly doesn't want out. And maybe Harden's the move. And again, we all saw what Miami did this year. We all said or saw that Miami just needed some more offensive consistency to make this thing work. And for all of Harden's flaws during the regular season, Harden does bring a level of consistency on offense just with the way your team plays. And maybe Heat culture, maybe Jimmy Butler, maybe Eric Spoelstra, maybe that's the thing that was needed to make James Harden an effective playoff basketball player in the biggest moments, which would be the biggest win Heat culture probably ever pulled off if they can do that. So we'll see. We will see how it goes with James. He will be traded. I can't imagine he is on. Actually, I take that back. He will be traded eventually. I figure he's not on the Sixers going into the next season, but Daryl Morey is also the guy that he just waited to trade Ben because he didn't like the trades that were out there. That's how he got Harden in the first place. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. If Morey doesn't like what's on the table for Harden, he'll just say, all right, well, I mean, I'll trade you eventually. Like, I'm not going to lose you for nothing. But I got until the deadline to make a move, actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if Morey wants to wait it out. But who knows? We'll see. If there's an offer, if the right offer is there, I could see the trigger on that getting pulled fairly quickly. I do wonder how much the NBA will be waiting. I don't think James Harden is necessarily a Kevin Durant level free agent where we're all going to be kind of waiting to see what his decision is before everything else starts happening. I think this will just be something that kind of goes on along with the rest of the free agency situation for everybody else. But we'll see if it's a quick move, if it's a long move, if we wait for the move, and a lot of teams are waiting for it. But we'll see how it goes. Harden will be on the move again eventually, though.